Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news this Saturday. See what I did there? Saturday. I suppose that would be next Saturday, actually. Anyway, that didn't work. But look, lots to talk about on the show this morning. Klopp dismissive of Ten Hag's issues. Alisson, the Liverpool #1, giving advice to Onana. Is this good or bad advice? Also, we'll be talking about what this illness issue is within the squad for Manchester United. Obviously, Marcus Rashford has returned for the Liverpool game, but others aren't. And we're going to start off with a big story around TOMORI. And also we're going to talk about the midfield three tomorrow, which probably has already been picked, if we're going to be honest with you. But let's hit this story straight away. Reports in Italy, specifically in Milan, saying that Manchester United are interested in a 40 million deal for TOMORI, who you may well have seen through the Champions League because he played against Newcastle twice. He's been at AC Milan now for, I think, a couple of years. And certainly a centre-back that would fall into the category of being a very interesting signing for Manchester United. Welcome to Members Club UKG. Now, the price point that Milan are putting next to TOMORI is around £40 million, which I would say is pretty reasonable for an English centre-back, who is very experienced in European football. He's won the league title in Milan. I think he won their Player of the Year in Milan, and also Champions League regular. So I think that, I mean, Logan says I've been begging for TOMORI for years. It is a player I actually really like. I won't get too excited about it because I don't necessarily think this is the sort of deal that Manchester United do. But what I would say is he will be a player that will want to come and play in the Premier League. He's not able to establish himself as an England starting centre-back because English managers and coaches seem to have a very narrow view on players playing outside of England unless it's somebody who's a superstar like Jude Bellingham. We saw it with Jadon Sancho. So if he wants to play for England, I think he needs to play in England. He's done his time abroad. I mean, he may well want to stay there, but I think he's done 2 or 3 years in Milan now, and a move back to the Premier League is very, very logical. He'll be 26 next week, and moving into his prime years in the Premier League, I think makes a lot of sense for TOMORI. Manchester United are looking at centre-backs. We also have to be aware that Harry Maguire probably does need to be moved on at some point, and that would be an English player moving on. So with home quotas, it would make a lot of sense. You've also got Sir Jim Radcliffe coming in, who apparently is very pro British players, as Drew says, Brexit United. But I think fundamentally, the most important thing to say here is that I do like this player. And I think if he signed for Liverpool or Arsenal or Chelsea, I would say that's a very, very good signing for those clubs. So it's certainly a player that Manchester United should be looking at. And it's certainly a player that I think would be interested in signing for Manchester United. My only issue is, would he want to come to United, Marks, as LP? Well, look, let's do a little bit of a poll on this because it's also about what you would want. But would you sign TOMORI? The question is, would Ten Hag sign TOMORI? And the one thing I do watch the player, but this is going to be a rarity for me because I'm going to actually bow down to the chat and, the hipsters in the chat, I suppose, because I do like TOMORI. I like his strength. I like his speed. I think his leadership's good. I like the way that, you watch him play for Milan, and he's actually very vocal in the organisation of that back four, which is very impressive. The only thing I'm not quite sure about, and I think he's good on the ball, I just don't know whether he'd be classed as a ball-playing centre-back or not. And that's weird for me because I've seen quite a lot of TOMORI, but I don't know where he measures in relation to, people like John Stones or Van Dijk. Is he a ball-playing centre-back? I've certainly seen him with the ball, and he looks good, but I don't know. I don't watch him week in, week out to know whether he is like a really good ball-playing centre-back. Good point from Robin. He's better than what we've got. But what he has got, and what I do like, is he's a really good tackler. He's good in the air. He's quick. He's obviously still, mid-20s. There is room for improvement, I think. And I like his leadership qualities. I think he's made for the Premier League. I think the type of centre-back he is, he's actually made for the for the Premier League, and I think he would be a good signing. My only reservation, like I say, is he the sort of centre-back that Erik ten Hag would want? And I think considering the centre-backs that he has at the moment, look, what I'm saying is I could see Martinez and Tomori working really, really well. And I probably should have started with that. If we can get Martinez back fit, I think him and Tomori would work really well together. And that's what I'm looking at. And look, Tomori, Todibo, I'd buy both. I think we need two centre-backs. We've seen that this season. It only takes one injury to our centre-backs and you're playing Johnny Evans or something like that. So I like the link. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to develop that link into something else. But I do like the link, and I think it's a very logical deal. And actually, part of me says, he plays with Maignan, mate, so he can play with the ball. Yeah, well, that's what I'm throwing. You know, mate, I'm not here to be shot at. I'm actually being, quite open on this and saying I think he is decent with the ball, but I don't watch him week in, week out. What are your thoughts? It's called interaction. There's no need to be sarcastic about it. But everything else, very, very happy with him. Good morning, Mark. I'm Erik ten Hag in, and I hope even the fans who want him out just hope we win tomorrow. It's a shame we haven't scored at Anfield for a while, says Moeen. Thank you very much, mate, and good morning to you. But yes, I mean, look, a lot of this is going to depend on budgets, and a lot of it's going to depend on ambition. Do you see a scenario where Manchester United say we want Todibo and Tomori? Because I don't. Do you see a scenario where they say they want the lad from Benfica or Sporting Lisbon and Tomori? I don't. I don't see us looking for two centre-backs, which is why we will always fail, because it's logical to me that if Varane and Maguire are going, and I think you could argue they both do need to go at some point in the next 18 months, you've got to be looking longer term. Manchester United need two centre-backs. I mean, I don't even think Lindelof should be staying either. There's no young centre-backs coming through. Martinez has been out for 8 months. Lindelof is a bench player, and that leaves you with two 30-year-old centre-backs in Maguire and Varane. We need two centre-backs. We don't need one. I'm tired of Man United just buying one player and resting the world on their shoulders. We need two centre-backs. We need two. It's as simple as that. If we want to build and be, and we want to build from the back. It's not even like buying a right back. We want to build from the back. We've bought a ball-playing goalkeeper in Onana, who I'll talk about in a moment. We want to build from the back. We want to play a high line. If you want to build from the back, you've got to play a high line. If you want to play a high line, you've got to have pacey centre-backs. We don't have that, so we need to buy two centre-backs. Simple as that. And we need to buy other positions, I agree. 85% of you would sign Tomori, which is, interesting. I think there's an interesting concept there. Luca, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. Appreciate that. So, look, let's wait and see what happens with Tomori. Certainly not going to be a January signing, by the way. I should have said that. This would be one for the summer, but we suspect the January transfer window could be very disappointing anyway. From what we're hearing already, it could be about a lot more outs, and any ins that come in could be very short term. You're talking loans, you're talking bargains, you're talking Werners, you're talking Garassis, you're not really talking Tomoris, you might not even be talking Todibos. So I think, and look, what I will say about that is, it's almost a statement. We have to be patient. I don't want to be patient, but we have to be patient. You can't buy players to make you successful for the next 5 years in January. You can't do that. You just can't do that. They are summer signings. January is about what good business we can do in the short term. If you get a long-term signing, well done. And also, I think it's really important to remember that if you are a Manchester United fan, you do need to screw your head on to the fact that you've got to be patient. I think there are elements of our fan base that are not helpful at the moment. I think they are very demanding, very vocal, very, very aggressive in what they think the club needs to do around the manager and the team. And my message to them is, whether you want to change the manager, the playing squad, or the infrastructure, if you think this is going to happen in the space of a few weeks, you're deluded. Whatever path we go down, it is going to take a long time. You might be able to go into Spurs and do it in 3 months. You might be able to go and do it in Villa in 3 months, but not at Manchester United. The problems are very, very, very deep-rooted. And the problems with deep roots is they take time to dig out and remove. It is going to take time. We are not going to solve this quickly. So if you get your new manager in January, I guarantee you he's going to lose games before the summer. In fact, if I was the next manager of Manchester United, I wouldn't want the job until the summer, because any manager that walks into United in January is going to lose games and therefore erode any good feeling they have among the fan base, which is why I don't want a new manager at the moment. Do you think Bienda can do a better job than Anana, says Philco? I think that I would make that change. It's interesting, actually. Let's just have a quick look at what Erik ten Hag has to say. I mean, actually, I just want to mention this to you. By the way, this is a brilliant bit of, and I've got to shout out Telegraph Football for this. This is fantastic, absolutely fantastic bit of information for you this morning. A bit of breaking news, actually, around Rasmus Højlund. Lack of service to strikers is a problem. Passes received this season, Rasmus Højlund is bottom of the table. Son has the most, Kuna is second, Amdouni third, Diaby fourth, Solanke fifth, Edouard seventh, Watkins eighth, Raul Jimenez ninth, Nicholas Jackson 10th, Darwin Nunez 11th. Bottom of the table, below Martial, Antonio, Calvert-Lewin, Maupay, Isak, Nketiah, Richarlison, Haaland, Ferguson, Gakpo, Archer, Wizza, Jesus, Morris, Nunez, Rasmus Højlund. Rasmus Højlund has received less passes than any other striker in the league this season. And you tell me that that is not a problem. Unbelievable. Unbelievable stats that, you know, we've been talking about for a very, very long time. How can you be successful as a striker and expect to be successful? I'm just going to put that out as a tweet, actually. You can retweet it. It's as simple as that. Rasmus Højlund has received less passes than any other starting striker in the Premier League this season. I'm telling you, I wore it for a reason. He's the right guy. I tell you what, he's got more than a trident on his bloody shoulders. He's got the world on his shoulders. It's not, you know, it's a very, very difficult job for Rasmus. Very, very difficult job indeed. But let me go back to what I was going to talk about Onana. Some very interesting comments coming out from Klopp and Alisson with regards to Manchester United this coming game, I suppose. And he basically had this to say. I mean, look, it's words of encouragement for an underperforming goalkeeper. He says, Andre Onana is a very good goalkeeper. The way he performed in the Champions League last season was incredible. That's Alisson, who I believe is the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment. He arrived with the responsibility of replacing David De Gea, who was perhaps not the best in the best form of his career, but was still performing well. He is capable of taking on this responsibility, but it sometimes takes more time to do that. You change teams, you change leagues, you try to adapt. I think he will succeed, but at the moment he needs everybody's support. I actually agree with Alisson there. I agree with everything Alisson says. I don't know whether you do, but I agree with everything he says. Onana is a good goalkeeper, and in that Champions League final, he did show that he was one of the best goalkeepers in the world at that moment. But Alisson hits the nail on the head. When you replace a good goalkeeper like David De Gea, it's going to take time to adapt. And at the moment, he needs all the support he can get because he's struggling to adapt. I completely agree with that. And people will say, but you've been slagging Onana off. I haven't been slagging him off. I've been telling the truth that he's cost us a lot of goals this season and he's cost us European football. My issue is not really with Onana. It's with this. This is what I've been saying. I've been saying this, haven't I? I've been saying this for about 8 months. When everyone was saying get rid of De Gea, I said it will cause us problems next season. We may well lose games and drop out of tournaments because of it. And it's bloody happened. Onana is obviously culpable because he's the starting goalkeeper. But it's a symptom of what Ten Hag and the United did in the summer. And Alisson has absolutely nailed it. As the best goalkeeper in the league, he's absolutely nailed it. What he's basically saying is, I believe Onana will come good, but it will take time because it takes time to come in and fill the boots of a very, very good goalkeeper in a league you're not used to. It will take him time to adapt. Well done. Why does it take Liverpool's number one to fucking tell us that? I knew it. Some of you knew it. somehow our manager and club didn't realise it, and some of our fan base. There's no problem replacing De Gea. Onana may well be the right man, but it was always going to do this. And that was my problem. Why destabilise our best part of the team? Our best part of the team last season was our defence. Our attack was still very, very dodgy. We destabilised the defence, and this is what happened. Onana may well be a good goalkeeper in the future, but this will always be his fault, going out of the Champions League. So, look, I completely agree with Alisson. Hopefully, there is a good goalkeeper there. Hopefully, he will deliver. But the damage is already done in relation to this weird idea that let's bring a goalkeeper in and pay the price of him making mistakes while we adapt. We didn't need to do it this season. So I agree with Alisson on that. Mark, I can't believe you really think Bayinda will do a better job than Onana, says Dylan. Well, I don't know whether he'll do a better job than Onana because we haven't seen him. But I tell you what, put a goalkeeper in at the moment who actually has good footwork and knows his angles. Of course it's going to be an improvement. I think Butland might do a better job than Onana at the moment. He's doing a great job at Rangers. Onana's not getting the basics right. I don't care what anybody says. He is not getting the basics right as a goalkeeper. There are goalkeepers in the lower half of the Premier League that do a better job than Onana this season because he doesn't know where he is. You look at the goals that he's conceding. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know where his goal is. His confidence is on the floor. Mark, I know he plays centre midfield, but would you buy Gavira from Spain? Great show, says Tracy. Look, when it comes to midfielders, real or made up, it matters not what I would do. It matters what the identity profile of what Manchester United scouts are going to do and what the future plan is and what the budget is. I think that, at the end of the day, is more important when it comes to when it comes to things like that. But look, this is what Jurgen Klopp had to say in relation to Manchester United as well. Oh, just before I get on to that, Marcus Rashford has been suffering with norovirus. So basically this is it's like a winter sickness bug, and he has been back in training and they're just going to monitor him. I mean, there's not a lot you can do with that. It's quite rare for footballers to be ill for a week. As I said the other day, it's not normal, that really. But a sickness bug is a sickness bug, and hopefully Rashford is back now because I think there's a part to play against Liverpool on the break. I really, really do. Robert McCormack says, shall we get Dean Henderson back? No, there's a debate. Who would you rather have in goal for Man United at the moment, Onana or Henderson? I mean, Henderson is injured. It's mad that Kulusevski was bought by Spurs for less than half the price of Antony. Different level of creativity, says Mohammed. I mean, Kulusevski's a fantastic player. I mean, we were talking about Kulusevski at Juventus a few years ago before he even went to Spurs, and you can moan about what Conte did at Spurs, but I think Spurs should be very... Maybe Conte's legacy at Spurs isn't that great, and let's be honest, it was probably the director of football. I forget his name. It began with a P, but Conte was the manager. The double deal that Spurs did for Bentancur and Kulusevski was incredible. And I know they've been very unlucky with Bentancur being injured, but he has been a revelation at Spurs, and so has Kulusevski. So, you know, it's yeah, very, very, very good deals, but that's Spurs, not Manchester United. Anyway, let's go back to what Jurgen Klopp had to say about Manchester United. Then we're going to talk about what we believe will be the starting three tomorrow in the midfield with no Bruno. Jurgen Klopp said this about the game tomorrow. And I hope we're ready for the game tomorrow, by the way. I'm ready for it. I've got a bit of a video later actually talking about it in more depth, but I think we have to believe. Jurgen Klopp says, I never like it when the headlines about Man United are not great before we play, because then it is the game where they can put everything right. I think this is very clever from Jurgen Klopp. He's trying to deflect the pressure onto Manchester United. In a way, in a sense, he is correct. You know, everybody is talking about Liverpool being the favourites. Even Manchester United fans are saying Liverpool are the favourites. Even I believe Manchester United won't win, and I normally always go with a win. But, you know, Jurgen Klopp wants to try and take the sting out of it, I suppose, and sort of try and say that United are like a wounded animal and could be dangerous. I think he obviously hasn't watched as much recently if he thinks that. In fact, he literally says this. He clearly hasn't watched us, and he even confirms it. I don't follow United closely enough to know what the problems are there, but I saw Ten Hag become manager of the month last month. I saw they were the team in form last month. How can it all be wrong? I just don't understand it. Well, I think any United... There's two things there. Jurgen Klopp's clearly not watching United, so he doesn't know how bad we've been. And the manager of the month thing, well, there was a lot. To be fair, I mean, you win manager of the month, you deserve manager of the month, but we also know that we weren't playing well. We were grinding out results, and the opposition we had wasn't necessarily the best, considering we were playing a lot of teams in the bottom half. Klopp says, if we just play a football game against the historical rivalry at home at Anfield, that itself makes it a special game, and that's what I want to see, a very special game tomorrow. And he spoke about the 7-0, and he said, look, the 7-0, we knew on the day it was a freakish result that happens once in a life, pretty much. If it helps anybody for the next game, it's the team who lost 7-0 and not the team who won. And what he means by that is if you get beat 7-0, then there's going to be analysis, there's going to be, scrutiny, and there's going to have to be a reaction. Whereas, if you're the team that wins 7-0, you can only really drop down from there. So, look, I think that football's for everybody. Football's for everybody. It's diverse, it's inclusive, and football is for everybody. And I think that when you look at the build-up to this game, there is intelligent build-up and there is hype build-up. I believe that there will be people tomorrow on both sides, Liverpool fans and Manchester United fans, ready to react in a very fake way, in the sense that they'll over-egg the pudding if something goes their way or doesn't go their way. It'll be, if Liverpool win, it's going to be get the mugs out again, get the t-shirts printed for Christmas. And if Man United lose, it's going to be Ten Hag out and, get him out of my club, he's a fraud. Look, there may well be people in the chat who think like that. I've been doing this a long time. We've been doing this a long time as a community. That sort of side of football, I find a little bit repulsive, if I'm going to be honest. I don't mind reaction in the moment, but I'm walking into this game. When you lose 7-0 and you don't expect it, I think the reactions, and I was on my knees behind the chair, are understandable. When you're ranting about Van Gaal or Jose, it's understandable, but I don't really get what the frustration and screaming and shouting from a United fan is about anymore, in the sense of get him out of my club, the manager specifically, because it's not a surprise. I think if we got beat 4 or 5-0 tomorrow, I wouldn't expect to see a United fan screaming and shouting on TikTok or something like that, because I'd be like, get a job on Hollyoaks. Because about the manager, I mean, because it can only be fake, because we've done this so many times. And I'm not saying that, wanting the manager to be sacked if we get beat by Liverpool is wrong, but screaming and shouting about it, in my opinion, is fake, because we've done it to Ollie, we've done it to Ranić, we've done it to Mourinho, we've done it to Van Gaal. It won't be what I'm trying to say is, why act surprised or, as a victim or shocked if we get beat tomorrow 5-6-0? This is what many people are predicting. So I'm sort of like, look, I want to go into this game with a bit of, level-headedness. It's not acceptable to get beat 5 or 6-0, but I think some people are almost praying for it so that they can do all the screaming and shouting in the hope that it removes the manager. And that's not being a fan of the club, in my opinion. I'm going into this game with, a belief that we can get a result. And I believe we can get a result, because you look at Liverpool's last 3 games and they've been very far from, vintage Liverpool scoring 5 or 6 goals. They've been very impressive in the way that they've ground results out, and that's why I think a loss is more likely, because I think they're more likely to grind out a 1 or a 2-0. But I don't accept that we're going to get absolutely arse kicked at Anfield, and therefore, 100% I'm behind the team. Mark, is Ten Hag a case of right man, wrong time, and now a case of sticking to his guns on the wrong things when he shouldn't, e.g. Varane? Love your content, says Chun. I think you make a very, very intelligent point. I think Erik ten Hag is the right manager at the wrong time, yes. I think Pep Guardiola would be the right manager at the wrong time. I think Jurgen Klopp would be the right manager at the wrong time. Personally, I mentioned this in the pub to someone last night. The right manager for Manchester United at the moment is probably Sean Dyche. And people were laughing at me, and I went, but this is something people don't really think through. We sack managers, and then we want the next hipster. We want the Ten Hags, we want the Raniks, we want the Jose Mourinhos. But what is suitable for Manchester United right now is Sean Dyche. I don't want Sean Dyche, but what I'm saying is, look at the squad, look at how they want to play football. The truth is, that squad is more set up for Sean Dyche than it is for Pep Guardiola. And that's where the Glazers and Richard Arnold and John Murtaugh and Ed Woodward and everybody else who's built this squad need to have a long, hard look at themselves, because sometimes you've got to look at the identity profile of the Manchester United squad, and it is not a Pep Guardiola squad. It is not a Jurgen Klopp squad. It is not an Ange squad. It is not a De Zerbi squad. It is not a Ten Hag squad. It is more suitable to the Roy Hodgsons and Sean Dyches of this world than it is to top-level football, because we have constructed a squad that doesn't play possession football and doesn't suit possession football. I don't want Sean Dyche to be our next coach, but I've never really heard anybody talk about it apart from us. You have to look at the squad profile, and the squad profile does not suit high-line, possession-based football. It suits deep, counter-attacking football. Therefore, it suits managers that play deep and want to counter. Therefore, it suits lower half of the Premier League teams. Therefore, it suits people like Roy Hodgson and Sean Dyche. The profile of our squad is just not right. So, no, I don't think it suits Ten Hag at the moment. And, slow sports news, stating the obvious. So you either build a squad that can do that, or you bring in a manager that can get something out of that. And obviously, I think we need to build it. Even Jose couldn't win at Anfield. It's just not about the manager. We need to admit we really need open heart surgery, says Moeen. And Lee Berman says, let me just get Lee's chat. Oh, what's gone wrong here? Lee, there you are. Where are you, Lee? You're in the chat somewhere. Lee says, back to the keeper. It took us 6 years to get from Schmeichel to the stability of Van der Sar. 6 years. Well, Lee, I'm repeating myself here like UK Gold, but we did say this, didn't we, back in March? Replacing Man United's goalkeeper takes time. We haven't got time. We should have stuck with what we've got for a little bit longer. Happy holidays to you and the family, says Billy C. Happy holidays, Bill. Happy holidays. Let the bells keep ringing. Happy holidays to you. Mark, Tomori is straight out of Cobham. Chelsea, he's one of us, says Dallas Knight. Well, that's the same as Mason Mount, isn't it? So there we go. But look, you know what? It's a social experiment we'll never see. But if I said to you, Ten Hag is going to go and manage, he's going to go and take 6 months off and come back in the summer, and we're going to use Sean Dyche for 6 months, I actually think United would probably pick up more points. And how does that work? I think if you put Sean Dyche in charge of Manchester United for the next 6 months, he'll probably pick up more points than Ten Hag would. Not because he's a better coach, but because the players are very basic. If you go to Man United and you say to the team, right, we're going to play a back six, we're going to keep it tight, and then we're going to transition quickly with the long ball. We're going to focus on set pieces. We're going to tighten up on set pieces, both attacking and defensively, and we're going to counter effectively, but we're going to sit deep and defend as a unit. Win the first and second balls. I think United would become a team that picks up points. It'd be horrible to watch. It's not what we want to see. But how have we built a squad that is very one-dimensional and cannot evolve from that into a ball-playing team? And that's why it'll take a long time. Yeah. Sweet Lord says, stop waffling. But, mate, I'm not waffling because we've seen it for the last 10 years. We haven't had a period of football over the last 10 years where we've sustained possession-based football for longer than a month. And yet we have been a counter-attacking part of the bus side for about 6 years. That's the fundamentals of what this team is. And it needs to change. And that goes back to patience. It's going to take time. I still think people think sack Ten Hag, bring in Lopetegui or Hansi Flick, and we'll start playing good football. It won't work. It won't work. It really won't work. It's like it's like asking a lion to, become a shark. One of my worst analogies ever, but it's true. You're asking somebody to do something that it's not. It's like asking a turd to be a chocolate mousse in a Michelin star restaurant. It's brown, but it tastes like shit. And United's team cannot do. Again, another social experiment. I'd love Pep Guardiola to have a month with that team and see what it does. I don't think he could get it working. I really don't. Hi, Mark. If you could pick one United player from the past to play the rest of this season, who would it be? Always going to be Roy Keane, Dan. Always going to be Roy Keane. And Mark, do you really think there's enough gravel in Manchester to feed Sean Dyche? I'll bring my gravel with me. It's my own special make. Everton are better than us to watch, says Robert McCormack. Yes. This is my whole point. Because Everton are playing to the Sean Dyche system with players that suit his system. I completely agree with you. There's a rarity. And I look at that Man United squad and it does not suit entertaining possession-based football with a high line. We don't have the players to do it. We would be better off with the squad that we've got playing the way Everton and Crystal Palace play because we've got the players for that. But it's not what we should be doing as Manchester United. Aston Villa are playing good football. Brighton play good football. Spurs play good football. Liverpool play good football. Arsenal play good football. Man City play good football. Newcastle play good football. We shouldn't be trying to play like Everton. We should be trying to play like them. I hope Ten Hag keeps his head out his arse tomorrow by picking Varane and Victor instead of Johnny, because then he's lost it, says Jared. Yeah. Well, Sam, welcome to the Members Club. Talking about the game tomorrow. Hi, Mark. Love your work. Who would you choose as starting centre-back pairing against Liverpool, says Dominic. So, yeah, thank you, because I want to talk about the midfield three very, very quickly. I would start tomorrow, centre-backs-wise, I would go with Luke Shaw and Varane. If Luke Shaw's got a bit of an injury, I don't want him bombing up and down the left wing because that could aggravate it. Less running at centre-back, and also I like Luke Shaw and Varane as centre-backs. I think they played brilliantly in the new camp last January and towards the end of last season. So if Luke Shaw is a bit of an injury risk, why put him at left-back against Salah when he's going to be running all fucking day? Put him at left centre-back with Varane, where he'll do less running, and actually I think he's a very good left-sided centre-back. So I'd go Varane and Luke Shaw. And then, obviously, I'm going to put Wan-Bissaka at right-back because we're going to be defending a lot. Wan-Bissaka has to start. We're going to be defending. And then left-back, it's a choice between Dalot and Reguilon against Salah, which is dangerous. I get it. It's dangerous. But we're going to play two holding midfielders anyway. And I think the midfield three is really interesting. I'm absolutely convinced that it will be Mainu, Amrabat and McTominay. I wouldn't play Scott McTominay because his passing is shit and we need somebody who can actually pass the ball. But he will play because he'll give everything. He's physical and he's good in the air. So it will be McTominay. It will be Amrabat. And I just hope it's going to be Kobbie Mainoo because I think you've got to put him in there. He's a player that is not scared. He's good on the ball. He's tenacious. He's quick. I think it makes absolute sense. Absolute sense. It would help because it feels like we neglect the basics of the game, set pieces, etc. It's like we're learning new philosophy on shaky foundation, says Geordie. I think there are so many, and Malps, yeah, McTominay's got to play as the more advanced midfielder. I don't want him anywhere near the defensive side of things. But I think that, there are so many problems at Manchester United at the moment. The problems are almost infinite. There are so many problems. And the problem is, with having so many problems, is that certain problems become ignored or not as high up. One of the biggest problems at Manchester United, and I'm tired of it, there's so many things in the world of journalism now that don't get picked up on. I did a video on That's Football this week about the injury crisis in the Premier League. There is factually and evidentially a 15% increase already in injuries compared to the last few years. 15% is a lot. Nobody's writing about it. Probably because of money, because they're all on the gravy train of let's play more games. Same thing with Manchester United and set pieces. Why is nobody talking about this? Why is this not a deep dive, factual piece of journalism that compares Manchester United's goals conceded from crosses, not only set piece crosses, goals scored from set pieces and crosses? And I guarantee you we'll be bottom of the league, or very, very near to it. I want to know how many goals Man United concede from crosses, set pieces and open play crosses compared to everyone else. And I want to know how many goals we score from set pieces, corners and crosses in open play compared to everyone else. Because we are terrible at it. So many goals we concede. And it's not just goals. How many big chances do teams miss from crosses? Loads. We can't defend crosses. And we can't score from crosses. And we're Manchester United, who, for most of my life, one of our big identifiable playing things was crosses into the box. Wingers. You know, it's incredible how we've completely and utterly lost one of our biggest assets, the ability to be exciting and entertaining from crosses. We are terrible at it. And United pretty much, certainly through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, were a team that always had exciting wingers who put crosses into the box. You're talking 60, 70 years of an identity there that's been thrown into the bin over the last 10 years. It's abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal because that's an identifiable trait of this football club and has been for most of our history. And we've binned it off. You know, people putting crosses into the box and Manchester United scoring goals is what we're all about. And yet we're incapable of doing it. And as for the defensive side, I mean, you've got Harry Maguire, who actually is one of the best headers of the ball in the country, and we still concede goals from crosses. I mean, he can't do it all on his own. Varane's good in the air. We still concede goals from crosses. It's abysmal. Rory says, aside from Amrabat, Mainu and McTominay, who else is available? Re-injuries, see Chelsea. Nothing to do with the games played, says Rory C. Well, you could play Mabry for a little bit more mobility. You could play Pellistri centrally as a 10 for a little bit more of, you know, dribbling and intricate play from there. But you're right. He's not going to take those risks. He's not going to take those risks. He's going to stick with Scott McTominay until he scores, and then he can say, I told you so. But McTominay's already had 4 or 5 bad games in a row. So he's overdue a goal. And I hope he bloody does score tomorrow. But yeah, it will be McTominay, definitely, 100%. 100%. Anyway, look, cracking show this morning, a little bit longer than I thought I was going to be, which is always a good thing. So give yourselves a pat on the back. You've done very well this morning. Big welcome to Gems as well, who is our new moderator. She's earned that badge. You can be a moderator yourself. You do get talent spotted by the mods, and big congratulations to Gems. She's earned it, and welcome to the members club. I can see Sally and Vicky and Solid Blake and Renate in there. But well done to Gems. She'll be well known in the chat and certainly deserves it. And you never know, it could be you in the future. Don't forget, if you are a member or you're not a member, click the join button and become a member. Next week, we've got our Christmas show coming out as a Christmas present to our members. It's a cracking show. You know what? There's not a lot of good telly on over Christmas. And you, next week, are going to get 2 hours of brilliant on stage United Stand Christmas show to watch over the Christmas period. Forget the BBC, forget Sky, become a member of the United Stand because you're going to get great content next week. Thanks everyone for watching. We're back a bit later, and of course it's tomorrow. That's what it's all about. Mark, if the Glazers sell Casemiro in January because we're out of Europe, I can't see us finishing in the top 5. I completely agree with you, Moeen. I completely agree with you. Thank you everybody this morning. Enjoy what you're doing today. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you all a little bit later.